Simón Bolivar, who was born as Simón José Antonio de la Santísima, Trinidad Bolivar y Palacios, Ponte-Andrade y Blanco, was the son of María de la Concepción Palacios y Blanco and Colonel Don Juan Vicente Bolivar y Ponte. He was born on 24th July 1783 in Caracas, Captaincy General of Venezuela. Bolivar was born into a wealthy family and was cared for as an infant by the family slave Hipolita and Doña Ines Manceba de Miyares, but was returned to his parents' care a few years later. Unfortunately, Bolivar's father died before Bolivar turned 3, while his mother died when he was 9. This returned him to the care of Hipolita, who he considered later in life as the mother he ever knew. He was educated abroad at a young age, receiving private lessons from several renowned professors with the likes of Andres Bello, Guillermo Pelgron, José Antonio Negrete, Fernando Vides, Father Anduja, and Don Simón Rodriguez. The latter became his mentor, teacher, and friend. Don Simón taught Bolivar how to swim, taught him on human rights, liberty, politics, sociology, history, and even how to ride horses. He joined the military academy of the Militias de Aragua and was sent to Spain in 1800 to pursue his military studies. In 1804, he returned to live in France and through this time visited several countries before returning to Milan, where he would experience the coronation of Napoleon as King of Italy. In 1807, he returned to Venezuela and witnessed the 1810 coup that gave Venezuela the de facto independence at the establishment of the Supreme Junta of Caracas, deposing the colonial administrator. The next year, during the Insurgents' War of Miranda, Bolivar was promoted to the post of colonel and was made commandant of Puerto Cabello on 1812, as a reward to his apparent service to the royalist cause. Bolivar then departed from Curacao and entered Merida, where he was called El Libertado, the Liberator. At the time, the Spanish massacred the supporters of independence, which led to Bolivar dictating the famous Decree of War to the Death, which allowed supporters to kill the Spaniards who were not actively in support of the independence of Caracas. Caracas was taken on August 6, 1813, and the Second Republic of Venezuela was established. But after a series of political and military disputes with the Cartagena government in 1815, Bolivar fled to Jamaica but was not given any support. He then fled to Haiti and there granted protection. He petitioned for aid to Alexandre Petition, the then president of the independent Southern Republic. Andre gave Bolivar ships, men, and weapons with the promise that Bolivar, in return, would abolish slavery in any land that he conquered over Spain. This would become one of the main achievements of Bolivar as he abolished slavery. After landing in Venezuela, Bolivar kept his promise and freed Spanish-American slaves on June 2, 1816. He next captured Angostura in 1817 and set up a temporary government there in Venezuela. This began the Third Republic of Venezuela with the creation of the Angostura Congress. The city of Angostura was also renamed to Ciudad Bolivar in 1846 in honor of Bolivar's efforts to help Venezuela during the movement for independence. Bolivar also liberated Peru. Although he condemned the Spanish corrupt practices, still, he ordered some churches to be stripped of their decorations. The Republic of Bolivia was created at the Congress of Upper Peru in 1825, August 6, making Bolivar among a few people who had a country named after him. In 1827, he returned to Caracas before leaving to Bogota. He tried to implement a more centralized government in Gran, Colombia, which included some of the elements of the Bolivian constitution he had written, one of which was the lifetime presidency and an ability to choose a successor. However, this was met with controversy, and 2 months later, Congress failed to write a new constitution. Bolivar was then declared President Liberator under the Colombia's organic decree. Bolivia had dreamed of a united Spanish America, leading to his creation of Gran Colombia and the Confederation of the Andes. But his dream was not actualized, and so on January 20, 1830, he delivered his last address to the nation where he announced he was stepping down as president of Gran Colombia. Despite his step down, he tried to prevent the union of Gran Colombia from breaking, but it was dissolved a year later and replaced with the republics of New Granada, Venezuela, and Ecuador. The remaining of the 19th century and early parts of the 20th century were marred by the civil war and socio-political issues known as caudillismo. The Spanish monarchy also tried to reconquer the settlements of America through expedition of their former colonies, but their attempts in Venezuela, Peru, Mexico failed, finally defeating the loyalist resistance. On April 27, 1830, Bolivar finally resigned from the presidency with the saying, "All who served the revolution have plowed the sea." He planned to self-exile himself to Europe and had sent several of his belongings and writings ahead to Europe, but he never made the trip from Cartagena. Bolivar is said to have declared America is ungovernable before his death. Although he had been more of a pessimist, he was said to view the distances that separated the large continents as impossible to unite politically. At the age of 47, Bolivar died on December 17, 1830 from tuberculosis at the Santa Marta, Gran, Colombia. His death wish has been for his writings, letters and speeches to be burned by General Daniel F. Leary, who disobeyed that order, saving instead the rich wealth of Bolivar's works, which has provided historians with information on Bolivar's thoughts and details of his life. He was buried in the Cathedral de Santa Marta, but in 1842 his remains were reburied in the Cathedral of Caracas. However, he was moved to the National Pantheon of Venezuela in 1876, which has been preserved as a museum. Bolivar had been married to Maria Teresa Rodriguez in 1802, but 8 months after she returned to Venezuela with him, she suffered from yellow fever and died on January 22, 1803. The devastated Bolivar swore he would never remarry, a promise he kept too. And though he had sworn to never remarry and had no children, Bolivar did have several other love affairs, most of which did not last long. Still, historians, biographers, and scholars agree that most of the women who were prominent in Bolivar's life was Josefina Pepita Machado, Fanny Duvillas, and Manuela Sáenz. However, Manuela Sáenz earned a closer, more important part of Bolivar's life than the other women. She became more than just a lover in his life, helping him at one point to escape an assassination on his life. She was also a trustworthy advisor and confidant. Manuela and Bolivar had met on June 22, 1822 at Quito, and there their long-term affair began. A relationship that was so strong that Manuela attempted suicide when news of Bolivar's death was told her. Bolivar was a Freemason who got initiated in 1803 at the Spain Masonic Lodge Lautaro. He has also been depicted through the years in opera, film, literature, and other forms of media, and remains a part of popular culture in several countries, and was celebrated at the 100 years of his birth in 1883 with the composition of the Triumphal March, Simon Bolivar, by the Italian musician Niccolo Gabrieli. As a liberator and political leader, Bolivar fought 100 battles, 79 of which are important. He was also a Venezuelan military leader that is viewed as a national icon of modern South America. Bolivar is considered one of the great heroes of the Hispanic independence movement of the 19th century, who led several countries to independence from the Spanish Empire, of which are Bolivia, Colombia, Venezuela, Panama, Ecuador, and Peru. Thank you very much for watching our videos. We'll appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends. We love you.